The morning sun poured in through the floor to ceiling glass windows of Brooks and Linton Global Enterprises, one of the most prestigious investment firms in the city. The building stood like a monument to power. 55 floors of steel and tinted glass, its lobby lined with imported marble, polished to a mirror shine. The elevator doors whispered open on the 37th floor, revealing the company's headquarters' sleek desks. Muted carpet, abstract art on the walls. Every detail screamed wealth and order. It was the kind of place where people spoke in hushed, confident tones, where suits cost more than most people's monthly rent, and where appearances mattered as much as results. Especially to Thomas Keaton, the floor's operations manager. Keaton was tall, lean, and always perfectly dressed in tailored navy suits. He had the polished smile of a man who knew how to please those above him, and the dismissive glance of someone who thought himself above those below. For Keaton, the cleaning staff might as well have been invisible. They arrived before the executives left after them, and moved silently through the hallways like shadows. The less he noticed them, the better, unless, of course, he needed someone to blame for a fingerprint on the glass or a coffee stain on the carpet. On this particular morning, Keaton was already tense. The day's agenda had just shifted dramatically. Victor Zhang, a Chinese billionaire and one of the world's most influential venture capitalists, had called to say he'd be arriving in less than an hour. No entourage, no prior scheduling, just him in person. Zhang was famous for being unpredictable, and his investments could transform a company overnight. For Brooks and Linton, securing Zhang's backing for their next project, a $1.8 billion green infrastructure plan, could mean prestige beyond measure. There was one problem: Zhang spoke almost exclusively in Mandarin, and their translator, a freelancer they relied on for rare occasions, was stuck in traffic miles away. Keaton was already barking orders as he strode through the floor, clipboard in hand. Conference room spotless. Not a single crumb or speck of dust. Get catering up here, not the regular pastries. Something international. Move those hideous chairs in the reception area. Yes, those. And someone check the coffee machine. This is Victor Zhang we're talking about. At the far end of the hallway, Amara Johnson silently pushed her cleaning cart past the glass-walled offices. She was in her early 30s, tall, with dark skin that glowed under the morning light and hair pulled neatly back under a plain black headscarf. Her uniform was crisp but unremarkable, the same navy blue polo and black trousers worn by every member of the maintenance staff. A rag hung from her back pocket, and a spray bottle of glass cleaner rested in her hand. Amara moved quietly, her headphones tucked into her pocket rather than in her ears. She preferred to hear everything around her. In this building, the smallest conversations could tell you a lot about people, especially the ones who thought you weren't listening. Keaton caught sight of her in the reception area and frowned. Johnson, make sure you're completely out of sight before Mr. Zhang gets here. We don't need clutter in the background. Amara simply nodded. She was used to Keaton's tone, clipped, impatient, the kind reserved for people he didn't think could talk back. But she didn't miss the irony in his mind. She was the clutter. By 9:10 a.m., the air in the office was charged with anticipation. Executives whispered in corners, interns typed nervously, and the sound of shoes clicking on the polished floor echoed down the hall. Then came the elevator's soft chime. The doors slid open, and Victor Zhang stepped out. He was a man in his late 50s, with silver hair combed neatly back, wearing a charcoal suit so perfectly cut it seemed to glide with him as he walked. His sharp eyes scanned the space with measured precision. 2 assistants trailed behind him, each carrying a leather briefcase. Keaton stepped forward, smile wide and posture stiff with importance. "Mr. Zhang, welcome to Brooks & Linton Global. I'm Thomas Keaton, Operations Manager. We're honored to." Before he could finish, Zhang began speaking in rapid Mandarin. His tone was cordial but brisk, and he gestured toward the conference room as he spoke. Keaton froze. His smile twitched, his eyes flicking desperately toward the assistant nearest him. "Right, yes," he stammered, then tried again, English. "Perhaps." Zhang repeated himself in Mandarin, slower this time, with a slightly raised eyebrow. His assistants looked at each other but remained silent. Keaton's mind raced. Where's the translator? Where's Linda? He spotted the receptionist, Sarah, hovering by her desk, and waved her over. You took Mandarin in college, right?" Sarah's face turned pale. 2 semesters, and I failed the second one. Keaton's forced smile was starting to crack. "Right. Never mind." He turned back to Zhang, trying to gesture vaguely toward the conference room, mumbling, "Please sit, meeting soon." Zhang tilted his head, his expression unreadable, and spoke again. This time longer, sharper. Keaton heard the edge in his tone and felt sweat prickling under his collar. What if he's offended? What if we blow this? Across the reception area, Amara had stopped wiping down the coffee table. She'd heard every word Zhang said. The billionaire wasn't angry. Not yet. He was simply asking for an update on the project's sustainability plan before the meeting began. But if no one answered him soon, his patience would wear thin. Her mind flicked back years, to the narrow streets of Chengdu, where she'd lived for 4 years after earning a scholarship to study environmental engineering. She remembered late, night study sessions, street food stalls, the rhythm of Mandarin conversations flowing around her until the language became a second skin. She'd graduated near the top of her class. Life, however, had other plans. Returning home, she'd faced personal tragedy, lost her footing, and taken whatever work she could to get by, including this cleaning job. Keaton, still flailing, turned to one of Zhang's assistants. "Do you speak English?" The assistant gave a small shake of the head. Zhang exhaled, glancing toward the window as if already calculating how much time he was wasting. Amara set down her spray bottle. Something in her chest tightened, not just frustration at the unfolding chaos, but the familiar sting of being underestimated. She had been quiet for months, keeping her head down, letting people think she was just another cleaner. But this was different. This was a moment she knew she could change. Keaton was seconds away from calling the CEO's office in a full-blown panic when a calm, clear voice broke through the tension. 他在问关于可持续发展计划的最新进展. Every head turned. Amara stood by the coffee table, posture straight, her eyes steady on Zhang. She repeated herself in Mandarin, her tone polite yet confident. He's asking for the latest update on the sustainability plan. The Zhang's eyebrows lifted ever so slightly. His gaze shifted from Keaton to Amara, studying her with sudden interest. The entire office froze. The billionaire investor, the assistants, the receptionist, even Keaton, whose mouth hung slightly open. The silence in the reception area was thick enough to hear the faint hum of the air conditioning. Keaton's eyes darted from Zhang to Amara, his face a frozen mix of disbelief and irritation. In his mind, she was supposed to be invisible, just a cleaner. Yet here she was, speaking flawless Mandarin to one of the most powerful men in the business world. Zhang spoke again, this time directly to her. 你叫什么名字? Without hesitation, Amara replied, 我叫阿马拉·约翰逊. My name is Amara Johnson. Zhang nodded approvingly, then gestured toward the conference room. 你能帮我翻译一下吗? Would you mind helping me translate? Amara gave a polite smile. Of course. Before Keaton could object, Zhang was already walking toward the glass doors of the conference room, and Amara followed, leaving the stunned manager behind. Inside, the room gleamed with polished wood, chrome accents, and a sweeping view of the skyline. A dozen executives sat around the long table, all whispering urgently to each other. They went silent as Zhang entered, their eyes flicking curiously to the woman in the cleaning uniform beside him. Keaton hurried in last, clearing his throat. Mr. Zhang, this is one of our maintenance staff, but shill. Zhang waved him off. 她是我的翻译. She's my translator. Keaton's face flushed a deep shade of red. The CEO, a tall woman named Margaret Linton, raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She trusted Zhang enough to know that if he wanted someone in the room, there was a reason. Zhang took his seat, opened a leather portfolio, and began asking questions in Mandarin about the company's green infrastructure plan. Amara stood beside him, translating each question into precise, clear English. The executives answered nervously at first, stumbling over details, but Amara's calm voice and exact translations steadied the pace. Half an hour into the meeting, Zhang's questions grew sharper. He asked about specific engineering techniques for reducing carbon emissions. Amara didn't just translate. She clarified certain technical terms, drawing on her own background in environmental engineering. Margaret Linton noticed. At one point, Zhang leaned toward Amara and asked, in Mandarin, "Do they truly understand what they're proposing?" Amara paused, glanced at the executives, then replied honestly, "Not entirely. They have good intentions, but some of the methods need refining. If they adjust their approach, the plan will be much stronger." Zhang leaned back impressed. Keaton, meanwhile, sat in the corner, fuming silently. He could feel the balance of the room shifting. Zhang wasn't looking at him, or even at the CEO as much. His attention was fixed on Amara. By the time the meeting ended 2 hours later, Zhang had agreed to invest. But with one condition. He turned to Margaret Linton and spoke in Mandarin, his tone firm but cordial. Amara translated, "I will back your project fully, but I want Amara Johnson to be part of your project leadership team." The room erupted in quiet murmurs. Keaton nearly choked. Margaret smiled slowly, turning to Amara. "Johnson, I think we can arrange that." The shift within days, Amara's life changed. Her cleaning cart was replaced with a sleek company laptop, her uniform with tailored business attire. She was given a position in the sustainability division, working directly with Zhang's international team. Some of the executives were supportive, others skeptical. Keaton tried to mask his bitterness, but his forced politeness only made it more obvious. Amara handled it all with quiet grace, focusing on the work, letting results speak for themselves. She streamlined communication between the Chinese investors and the company's engineers, catching errors before they became disasters. Zhang often invited her to strategy lunches, where she contributed insights that impressed even the most seasoned executives. 3 weeks later, Brooks and Linton held a press conference announcing the final investment deal. Cameras flashed as Zhang spoke, Amara standing beside him in a navy blazer. When the reporters asked how she'd gone from janitorial staff to project leadership in under a month, she simply said, "Sometimes, the skills you hide are the ones that change everything." Don't underestimate people because of where you find them. Zhang nodded beside her, adding in Mandarin, which she translated for the room, "Talent has no rank, no title, and no uniform." Keaton's humbling. The very next morning, Keaton found himself summoned to Margaret Linton's office. She didn't scold him outright, but her meaning was clear. "I expect you to treat all staff with the same respect, regardless of their position." Ms. Johnson's promotion is a reminder of that. Keaton left red-faced, mumbling an awkward congratulations to Amara later in the hallway. She accepted it with a polite nod, but didn't linger. She didn't need revenge. Her success was enough. Full circle 2 months later, Amara stood at the head of a long conference table, leading a meeting with both the Brooks and Linton executives and Zhang's overseas team. Charts and diagrams filled the screen behind her. She spoke in English and Mandarin seamlessly, her voice confident, her posture commanding. Through the glass walls, some of the cleaning staff paused to watch. They grinned, exchanging looks of pride. One of their own was now making decisions that would shape the company's future. After the meeting, Zhang shook her hand warmly. "I was right about you," he said. Amara smiled. "You just gave me the chance to prove it." A message to the viewers, her story spread quickly. First within the company, then through industry circles, and finally online. It became more than just a tale about an unexpected promotion. It was a reminder that the world is full of hidden brilliance, waiting for a chance to shine. And now, to everyone hearing her story, the lesson is simple: never underestimate anyone. The quietest person in the room might just be the one who changes everything. If you believe in stories where dignity wins, where hard work and hidden talent break through walls, then join us here. Subscribe so you never miss the next time someone turns the tables and proves the world wrong. Because one day, that someone might be you.